Hello, everybody. My name is Michelle with the TribalHub team. I am here with a big panel today. Super excited about Lindsay from my team is on the call as well as our friends at Arctic IT and some others that we'll introduce here shortly. Appreciate you being on the call today. We do have a full house. Super excited. We have 100 people joining us today for this call, our biggest webinar of the year. So super exciting stuff there. While you're joining, if you wouldn't mind letting us know where you're dialing in from by using that chat. I absolutely love seeing where everyone's calling in from. I think it's the coolest thing. I am actually here today at our TribalHub office in Portage, Michigan with Lindsay. Usually I am in Gaylord, up a little more north of Kalamazoo area. Okay, so a couple of California, Prior Lakes. My son actually had a tournament up there by Prior Lake in Minnesota. Hollywood, California. Oh, hope you guys are all good down there. Wisconsin, another California, Hudson, beautiful area. I love it there. Wisconsin, Northern California, Arizona, Idaho, Florida. I love seeing this. So cool. Hi, Ed. Love, love. Very, very cool. Oh, a lot of Arizona. Cool. Awesome. Well, we are going to go ahead and get started here. Hawaii. I know. I was wishing Hawaii too. All right, let's get started here. I know we might have a few people kind of coming in, and that's totally okay, but we want to give enough time for this panel to talk through all the things that they want to talk about today on our webinar, Transforming Tribal Operations, Power Platforms as a Catalyst for Change. Our webinar partners today, Arctic IT, and we have an amazing panel today that will be so fun to listen to. We have Brian and Sarah from Arctic. Thank you guys for being here. Benjamin from the Eastern Shawnee Tribe, Forrest with Oneida, J.R. Walters with the Samish Indian Tribe. So great group of panels today. Super excited, as I've said before, to see how this is going to work out. The session will be recorded and posted on our website for future viewing. You will also receive an email tomorrow with the link, so you can share it with anyone else on your team who maybe couldn't attend today. A couple of learning objectives for you to keep in mind while we are going through all the slides today. Make sure that you send any questions in the chat. That's where we are going to be monitoring for questions during the panel section of the presentation. And a couple of events we have coming up are regional technology forums in the central and southwest regions happening in November and December. You can hop on over to tribalhub.com to see all of that information. And so with that, I'm going to turn everything over to you, Brian and Sarah.
All right. Thank you very much, Michelle. I appreciate that introduction. And welcome everyone to this wonderful, exciting webinar that Sarah and TribalHub team are organizing for us. And I think you've got an information-packed session that we're going to provide to you today. So, and I really appreciate our participants that are volunteered their time to join us and give their perspective on how they're using the Power Platform. So I think this is going to be a great, exciting, informative session for you today. So let's just go in. We'll do a quick introduction. And right now, Sarah, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks, Brian. I'm Sarah Jelinek. I'm the Director of Power Platform and Tribal Solutions here at Arctic IT. I've been with the company for a little over 10 years. I'm based in Fargo, North Dakota. Also recognized as a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional, Microsoft Certified Trainer, and very much the most important thing, I'm a very proud geek. So you'll see that come out today in today's session. Brian.
Thank you. So my name is Brian Schmidt. I'm a Principal Solution Architect at Arctic IT. I've been with the organization almost 11 years now, working with tribal organizations across the United States. So pretty much that whole time. My first day on the job was at a tribal casino. So I've been heavily involved with tribes for the whole time, and I primarily focus on CRM and Power Apps implementations and helping tribes modernize their applications and their operations. So looking forward to sharing with everyone today. All right, and we'll quickly introduce our panelists today. Ben Dixon from the Eastern Shawnee Tribe of Oklahoma. So welcome, Ben. Thank you for joining. Forrest Pelky is our, the full stack developer. So we got the true, geek nerd. Hey, the guy that's the most valuable team on the panel. So looking forward to getting your perspective from Oneida Nation and the work you guys are doing there. And of course, J.R. Walters, been good to see you again, my friend. It's been a long time, but he joins us and to give his perspective on how the Power Platform has helped their operations. So thank you guys for joining. All right, so these are some of the agenda that we're going to cover today. We're going to go talk a little bit about some of the trends that we're seeing in terms of, problems that tribal IT organizations are having. And then we're going to dive into the Power Platform, and Sarah's going to share her deep knowledge on Power Apps and do a little bit of a demo, show you a few things. And then we're going to dive into the panel discussion with our panelists, and we'll go through that and get some feedback from everyone on how their usage is. And we'll try and make a little bit of interaction as we're doing the panel discussion. We'll get some Q&A. You can post your questions in the chat session, and we'll try and interject and address those questions as we get into that. So, all right, let's get started. So, before we get started, I want to focus a little bit on who Arctic IT is, and just to introduce our organization. We have deep roots in the tribal sector. We've been working with tribes for nearly 20 years across the United States and Alaska. We are 100% native owned. We're based out of Anchorage, Alaska. We're owned by Doyon Limited, who is our parent company. But we've been working with tribal governments and casinos for pretty much that whole time, helping to modernize both their business applications as well as their finance and ERP systems for your organizations. And we are a Microsoft solution provider, so we work very closely with the Microsoft team and the Microsoft tribal team to help learn how we can modernize and help your teams. All right. And this is just a quick slide of some of the nations that we provide services to. So you may recognize many of these tribes that we've worked with either currently or in the past. So it's a great honor to serve all these tribal organizations across the United States. So I'm really proud of this group that we've started working with. So, all right, the Power Platform poll. So we wanted to start to just get some information, just get a little level set base of where everyone is at along, how much do you actually are familiar with the Power Platform, or how much you use it today. So go ahead, Sarah, if you want to start that. So if you could answer this poll, you would give us a little bit of feedback in terms of, is your current organization using it, or are you planning, or where are you at in this journey? And I think that shows up, right? Hopefully that shows up for everyone to answer that question. We'll give it a couple more minutes or seconds, I guess. All right. Do we have most of the answers? All right, so go ahead. Let's move on. I think yep. All right. So that's great. I mean, that's actually a higher percentage. So Sarah and I have both done this presentation at one of the regional TribalHub events. So it's actually a higher response rate than we got when we did these sessions before. So that's great that you guys are taking the initiative to start learning some of these tools and platforms that are becoming available, and understand how it can help you in your organization. All right, let's move on, Sarah. All right, before we dive into the Power Platform, let's just talk a couple trends that we're seeing across the industry. Every day I spend time working with different tribal organizations, understanding many of their current problems and challenges, and in either working with legacy systems or legacy applications, whether it be a spreadsheet that you're using to manage the data, or an Access database. That's a common scenario, or you're really just using paper processes. We're always looking for ways to improve the way that we deliver services, not only to our internal teams, but also deliver services to our members. And I know that most of us are probably IT departments or representatives from an IT department. So we're constantly stretched and challenged to provide better services and replace these business applications that are either legacy or, or we need to buy something or build something. It's a real challenge, right? That most teams have incurred or and face, and trying to fund those project replacements. So sometimes they've used a legacy application for so long that it becomes very difficult to try and change that. And because not only from a personnel standpoint, because they're so familiar with it, but maybe it's at risk because it's not secure, the new security policies that come into play, or we need better ways to protect your data. So we're always looking for ways to help an IT team provide governance over where is your data, how do we better protect it, how do we leverage the latest technologies that either Microsoft is providing or other vendors are providing to help you not only improve use automation as much as possible, better protect your data, and improve your service delivery. So that's really what we're seeing. And the traditional way of delivering those replacement applications is in some cases building it from the scratch, using C# and really, hardcore development tools. That's becoming much more difficult just from a lack of skill and staff that can do that kind of work. So they're looking for new ways. How can we use platform technologies to replace these applications? And that's where the Power Platform comes into play. So let's talk a little bit about that and expectations. Teams are, especially with COVID, teams expect to be working remote or hybrid. So that changes the game. And that's where, using legacy applications that are on premise, that becomes a challenge because you're required to do a VPN into your local network to get access to it. But when you do that, you're potentially exposing security holes in your network and potentially exposing data to bad actors that want to do harm to the tribe. So that's why what we're seeing is this trend towards getting rid of these old legacy applications that are on premise inside your environment and moving to a hosted cloud environment that provides you much more data security. You've got the ability for the platform provider to help secure and integrate and use some of the best practices that are being applied now across the industry to help your team and be able to use or get access to the data to deliver services to your members anytime, any place, right? So that's really a game changer for many different tribal organizations. So just realize that these are some of the scenarios that we're seeing and how can the Power Platform become one of the tools in your tool chest that'll help you move in that direction, right? All right, so I won't spend a lot of time on this, but just realize that when you hear me call a low-code, no-code application platform, that's going to become a new term that you're going to hear, LCAP, and that's really what the Power Platform is. Think of it as a way where in the past where you compiled your applications, now you've got a low-code application platform that you can build these tools and train AI models without writing a single line of code, keep your data accessible and have multiple applications, but yet define the security parameters and governance around that data. So it's a game changer in terms of how you manage the data versus the way you used to do it. And these low-code applications can assist with you because they're integrated into your tools you use every day, such as Outlook, SharePoint, Word, Excel, and others. That you're gonna increase the efficiency of your tribal staff and use it as a way to protect your data and get more done every day. All right. And we're seeing this. This is provided by Gartner, but we're seeing this from Microsoft as well. That low-code application platforms are really the interesting trend. Where looking back at 2020, there were less than 25% of the organizations that were using these tools. Now we're seeing that they're projecting that it's going to be over 75%. So if your team isn't looking to retool the way you build your internal applications and leveraging some of these tools like Power Platform or others, you're missing out on a lot of capability and saving yourselves time and money in delivering services to your members. So this is a huge trend that we're seeing across the industry. And bringing in AI into these tools is a game changer as well. And guess what? By utilizing these platforms, you don't have to build out all these models and so forth from scratch. You can leverage some of the tools and so forth that Microsoft or the Power Platform or the platform itself provides to you. So just realize that, again, this is another big trend. More maps and teams are going to be expecting to use AI in the future. So how can you use these tools to help you deliver on that service goal in the future? So just realize that this is a huge trend in the industry and where everyone is going from a delivery of service to your members. And this is the way most tribal organizations are moving, is using these low-code application platforms to replace those services. All right. So that's just a little bit of background of the industry, where we see it going. And with that, I'll hand it over to Sarah to let her dive into the Power Platform and give you some specifics on how it works. Sarah?
Excellent. Thank you, Brian. So what is the Microsoft Power Platform? A lot of you understand what it is now, because a good portion of you, over half the audience, are using it right now. For those who are not familiar with it and want to learn a little bit more about it, well, the Power Platform is exactly what it's saying. It's a platform. We can use the tools in this platform to accelerate our application development, to provide automation through workflows, give us the capability to visualize our data, and help achieve those, reduce those repetitive tasks that we have with AI-powered tools. Now, I'm going to talk about these top 5 icons that we see here, because they're incredibly powerful tools within the Power Platform. The first is Copilot Studio. If you've been listening to Microsoft in the last year and a half or so, you've been hearing this term Copilot. You probably saw the ads during the Super Bowl of what Copilot is. Well, with Copilot Studio, we have the ability to build our own AI Copilot agents. So think of it as like a virtual assistant that can help answer questions about your data, can help perform some tasks for you. Those little wonderful chat bots that you see on a web page, you can actually build your own and help serve people more efficiently to answer those frequently asked questions. Power Apps is a place that's near and dear to my heart, a tool that I use every day to help build applications. So it helps accelerate that application development. You don't need to start from scratch. We've got a great framework for you to start from. Power Automate to help process automation. We'll dive a little bit more into that as well in this session. So being able to utilize not just the capabilities that we have in a Power App, but be able to connect with and work with data from over 14, I want to say it's 1,400 plus connectors that Microsoft has that you can work with to help automate some of the processes in your organization. And then when you want to surface information or interact with people outside of your organization, for perhaps it might be tribal members, or it might be vendors or customers, if you're working in an enterprise solution, you want to be able to interact with them and provide an interface. Power Pages allows you to create an external website and let users be able to authenticate to that site and perform actions and update data and interact with you in a secure method. And then, of course, all of the things that we are doing every day revolve around our data. And how do we tell the story of what's happening with our data, what's happening with our tribal members, what's happening with our customers, what's happening with our finances, what's happening with all the things that we need to run our organization. Power BI helps you build that tool, build that story for your organization. Now, a lot of these components that we're working with here have some commonality that they work with, utilizing the many data connectors that continue to increase the number every day of connectors that are available to use to integrate your data with Power Platform and a Power App or Power Automate, using AI Builder to help process your information and be able to learn from your data to help answer some better questions for you. Dataverse, PowerFX, and managed environments, giving you the capability to help build and design really good enterprise level secure applications and processes. So why Microsoft Power Platform? That's a great question. The one reason we tell people that the Power Platform is a great tool to use is that it gives you one common data model across all business applications. Imagine you have a data model that has a database with your member information as an example. There's a lot of different departments in a tribe that may need to view that information. They don't necessarily need to update it. They don't need to see everything, but they want to be able to build applications that help serve those members and yet be able to see that key information. We have a lot of organizations that are realizing the power of the Power Platform, where now analyst reports are saying Microsoft is positioned as the leader. There's over 500,000 Power Platform customers that use this for this purpose of having that common data model and having tools to be able to accelerate their development and quickly deploy apps that help save time and improve people's just day-to-day lives. There's over 97% of Fortune 500 companies that are using business applications. And I can continue to talk more about the slide in that Microsoft is becoming the leader in low-code platforms. They are also the leader in collaboration and productivity, as Brian mentioned. We can integrate with Office applications, and we can integrate with applications and solutions that are not part of the Microsoft stack. We want to make sure that you have a nice connected model when you're working day to day. And as we start to learn more about Azure and machine learning and cognitive services and the different tools that are out there, we're finding ways to help you get a good understanding of all that data that you have within your organization. So one of the benefits of also using the Power Platform is Microsoft has these really well-built, what I call first-party applications. They're Microsoft Dynamics 365 business applications. So for example, if you're an organization that provides service, such as providing repairs or wanting to track the assistance that people might need for resolving some items in a building, as an example, for field service, or maybe you have a call center where you're answering questions to help tribal members, you want to have customer service. Or maybe you're an enterprise organization and you're selling products or other items that you want to track your sales process through the sales module. There are lots of different modules that Microsoft has built or apps that they've built on the Power Platform. So if you're utilizing any of these or working with an organization that utilizes these, the Power Platform will allow you to easily integrate with that. We can use Power BI to pull that data. We can automate tasks if somebody creates a new case in customer service to notify another team of something. We can build apps on these tools as well. So the extensibility with the Power Platform is almost limitless, and in fact, it can be. So with that, let's actually take a look at what do we mean by using the Power Platform to help accelerate your organization. And one of the areas that I focus on a lot in my day-to-day is building apps with Power Apps. So this is one of those tools that I talked about at the beginning where we have the ability to quickly deploy an application. Now, determining when you're going to build an app, obviously you figure out your usage scenario. What are we needing to use this for? Who is going to be the users of this? And then what's the use case of that? So when you're trying to figure that information out, one of the things that always come across as a question or a concern is, okay, where do we manage that data? How do we manage security to it? How do we handle the permissions to that? Well, with the Power Platform and working with Power Apps, we have an easy to use platform and easy to use designer tools that let us create applications for our users. It has a built-in security model that you can utilize immediately and deploy out to users to ensure access to the data is secure and the actions that they can perform to that data is secure as well. Now, when we talk about apps that we can create, there's two different types, a model-driven app and a Canvas app. I'm going to quickly show a demonstration today on how to create a Canvas app within Power Platform and how quickly we can do that. Now, if I had to describe these two, my team always laughs at me when I come up with this analogy. If anyone knows what a mullet is, it's, they call it business in the front and party in the back. Well, these two are the opposite of that. We've got the party in the front with the Canvas app being a very highly tailored user experience that lets you connect to your data first data, or if you want to connect to other data like SharePoint or Excel or SQL, you can connect to that information and work with your data on an app like on a phone or a tablet or on your PC. You have the low code capabilities using PowerFX. So if you're very comfortable using Excel, PowerFX is very similar to that to help perform actions on your data and modify information accordingly. And you can publish this app and share it with your team. Now, the model-driven app is part of the reverse mullet where we have the business in the back. And for those people that work sometimes in your back office that are really focused on your data, they want to see everything. They want to know what's happening with it. They want to see it in different views, like working with charts or dashboards. This is for the people that really focus on that. It's a very easy to author app. It's a very responsive design. Just like our Canvas app, we can use it on multiple devices. we see a strong integration with Microsoft Office apps, like using Word to generate a letter, Excel to export your data, Outlook to be able to track email messages and send communication back and forth. So this is where you'll be able to quickly deploy those apps that you need to use within your organization using the Power Platform. So, all right, we're talking about these. You're seeing screenshots. Let's actually take a look at how we can use the Power Platform to create those apps for us. Now, I'm going to do a quick example here of I'm in what we call the maker experience, so make.powerapps.com, and I've got an environment created, and I want to show you how quickly I can create an application for my end users to use. So right at the beginning, you'll see where we see Copilot helping us here. We're going to be using AI, generative AI, to help us build an app. And so you don't have to see me try type on screen live. I'm going to save a little time here and just copy paste a description of what I want the system to build for me. I want it to build an app to track PTO requests. That's going to have information like a subject, a description, a lookup to select the employee that's requesting at the start and end date of that, as well as the status of that request. So I put all that information in my description. I'll hit the go button. And what the system is going to do is it's going to help start building this app for me. So using that information I provided, it's going to create a couple of tables for me. It's going to create a relationship for me as well. So if you are a developer, like we have Forrest, we've got some amazing, wonderful technical resources like JR and Ben on this call, and of course, Brian, we would just actually go right into the system and start building the structure. But if you don't know that, you can describe what you're looking for, and the system will create this for you. It just created two tables for me, my PTO request, and I'm going to click View Data. It actually gives me some sample data to look at to see what this looks like. I can see the subject, the description, my start and end date. I have a lookup to my employee. So if I move this up here, I'll see my employee information that I can select, and then I've got the status of that. And of course, I can look at employee and see that information as well. I'm just going to hit Save and Open App because we want to get to our panelists here and see how they're utilizing some of this great functionality. And this will take a little over a minute for it to build an app for me. So it's building what we call that Canvas app. That's going to give me the flexibility to go in there and be able to publish that to maybe like a tablet device, have people go out and enter those requests for PTO, and then have a manager come in and review them and update the status accordingly. So while that's happening, I promise I'll come back to this in just a moment to talk, to show you what it actually created. But I want to talk a little bit about the other tools that we have. Now, as my app is building, this is a great example of someone submitting a request for paid time off. I want to be able to have some automation in the system. So when someone creates that request, I want to be notified about that. And I want to be able to look at it and then approve it, and then maybe have a message get sent back to them, or maybe create an item on an Outlook calendar somewhere, or send something to HR to let them know someone's taking time off, or to payroll. So Power Automate allows us to do that automation. I can have a user trigger this process manually, or in this case, by the creation of a record, I can have a trigger get called, and I can perform some logic, like determining who's that person's manager, who do I need to email from payroll. And I can utilize those over 1,000 connectors that Microsoft has to be able to communicate to put something in Excel or put it in SharePoint, maybe send this email to somebody or put it into my Dataverse environment. So we've got a lot of different automation capabilities that help us with that. Now, not just doing this automation in the back end, but we can also use desktop flows. Think of it like a macro that's recording on your screen. So Power Automate's a great tool for helping reduce those constant clicks that you're having to do, perhaps with those legacy systems. Now, let's go back to that app that I just created, and I'll just hit skip here. We've got our app. Let me just go to our PTO request screen here, and you'll see it actually created an app for me. I can go create a new request. I can see information, lots of wonderful detail there. And at this point, if I wanted to add some additional capabilities, I could, but you saw within a matter of 2 minutes, I created an app that I could possibly give to my end users to work within the system right away. All right, so let's talk about the one final item I want to talk about and do a quick demo on is the low-code web pages with Power Pages. So when you want to be able to work with your tribal members or work with your vendors or if you've got customers, if you're in an enterprise organization, I want to be able to interact with them. So I can create a very professional looking enterprise grade website to surface information to that person, have them authenticate using the appropriate security that we want to deploy. A developer has the ability to continue to extend this capability. It has a responsive design, and it's a great tool. And just for time purposes here, I'm going to quickly go over to our site where we have an example of this. So this is an example of our community engagement portal that we have that a member could go to. They can sign in and look at their membership information, their details, if they want to make any corrections to this. We have the capability to provide links to services. Right now, my member, Alicia Wilson, is logged in, and she can actually securely access her data and send requests for us to perform any updates or any modifications, or basically to assist her, provide her assistance, and an easy way to do that and provide that self-service capability. The great benefit of that is that those members are empowered to help you keep information about them up to date as well. All right, so finally, you get all this wonderful information with these apps, all these different applications that you're using in addition to Power Apps. How do we tell the story of our data? Power BI is a great tool for this. Not only will it help us create the picture of our data with our cloud information that we have within the Power Platform and Dataverse, but you can also connect to on-premises data. You can view information through dashboards, interactive reports. You've got visualizations that you can see, and you can access this on a multitude of devices in a different multitude of formats of that as well. And we're really excited to start that conversation with you if you're interested. But with that, I actually want to get to the heart of this session and talk about how organizations are adopting the Power Platform and how it's helping them innovate and improve their lives with their team members, and more importantly, with their tribal members and their organization as well. So with that, oops, I'm sorry, I just jumped way ahead there. We're not ready for questions yet. We just want to get back to our panel discussion. So let me quickly introduce our panel. As we mentioned at the beginning, we've got Ben, we have Forrest, and we have JR. So we'll take a moment here to do a quick introduction, and I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. So let's just start with Ben.
Hello, my name's Benjamin Dixon with the Eastern Shawnee Tribe of Oklahoma. We're in the northeast corner of Oklahoma, one of the small tribes up in this area. We're a pretty small tribe as things go in the area, maybe one of the larger area tribes with about 3,700 members. We have a small organization here with about 200 employees, and we've been using Power Platforms for maybe just around a year so far, and very happy.
All right, excellent. So Ben, how's your organization using the Power Platform today?
We used it to replace an existing application we were using for member benefits, and we developed additional pieces in as we migrated over. So we're using it with our enrollment, member benefits. We use it for case management, for ICWA, tribal registration, vehicle registration. And we have a user portal. We use it with our elections to manage the election piece and maintain all of the election data. So we've dug in pretty deep with it.
Excellent. Thanks, Ben. And Forrest, you wanted to do a quick introduction of yourself?
Yes, thank you. Pleasure to be here. My name is Forrest Pelky. I'm a full stack developer for the Oneida Nation. We're a nation in Wisconsin, one of three of the Oneida Nations throughout America and Canada. We are partnered with the Packers, and I would say a good contributor to entertainment in the area with our gaming and bingo. And we've recently acquired a hotel as well, so we're looking to really make a whole resort in the area. So that'll be exciting as that progresses. We've got about 17,000 members, and we are just over 2,000 employees, I believe. So our organization is a pretty decent size. And we've been using the Power Platform for about 4 years. Really, the pandemic is when we started. That's when it kind of became a necessity for us to digitize some of the things for our members. And yeah, I've just been really pleasantly surprised by the platform. When I first discovered it in 2018, I got to go to a Microsoft Ignite conference, and they kind of just blew me away. So I was investigating it with another developer, and thank goodness we did, because then when the pandemic came, we completely implemented it. So
Excellent. So you're using, are there special use cases that you're using the Power Platform today in your organization?
yeah, so I would say the biggest tool that we actually utilized from Power Platform would be the on-premise gateway. So our IBM servers or our IBM databases were legacy tables, and it was going to be quite a pretty penny to implement an API for that, for us to start reaching into that data and writing to those tables from our website. And so diving a little deeper into what the functionality was of Power Automate, we found out that we could use it as a web API. And that was tremendous for what we were trying to do for digitizing our members' intakes and applications, particularly for our general welfare. So that was a really big success. We're still using it today. We are ready now, I would say, to move over to Power Pages, which thankfully we've gotten connected with Arctic IT, and they're going to be a big push or a big support on getting us into that, where we can start to develop those online forms a lot more quickly, because right now we're doing it all in WordPress, and then we connect to Power Automate with the APIs. And but I mean, we've used internal solutions as well for just transforming paper documents. Also, just creating new portals for employees to access their data. We have a application that allows them to see their timesheets. We've got a Power App that's specifically made for our IT employees to request telecommuting. So we've been adopting it, and more we've been trying to transform our physical processes into digital with the Power Platform.
Excellent. Thank you. Hi, JR. You want to give us a quick introduction?
Sure. Yeah, I'm J.R. Walters. I'm the Executive Director of IT for the Samish Indian Nation. I've been with the tribe for about 11 years, and Samish is located in the Pacific Northwest, 45 or an hour and a half maybe north of Seattle. Yeah, we've been using the Power Platform in similar ways that everyone else has as well. We have solutions from Arctic IT. We use it for case management, for social services and housing, and vocational rehabilitation, and some of the programs that they operate. We also have the portal, and we have an integration that we enhance from that portal with Azure B2C, and it's a really powerful platform. And that Azure B2C connection that we've built out, we've used custom policies to integrate other applications as well, and it's all based on our tribal enrollment data. So it's been a lot of fun building in the platform, and there's a lot of opportunities that we see.
Excellent. Well, JR, I'm going to stick with you for our next question here. So you've talked about some of the usage capabilities. How has the Power Platform made an impact on your operations within your organization?
The main impact has been a more consistent way to manage records and data, and the ability to make data-driven decisions. With the Tribal Platform solution, at a glance, we can see a dashboard that shows how many participants are in a program, or how many caseworkers are working, what their caseload is, and then you can make decisions to adjust based on that type of information. where before things were mostly in paper, and a file system on a file server requiring a VPN. Now everything is a lot easier to get access to through the web-based applications. But it's
And that security too, right? Absolutely.
yeah, it's not just the Power Platform that has had an impact on our operations. It's the entire Microsoft suite. And protecting citizen data is really at the heart of what we have to do. And one of the ways we do that is using an software application that'll work with zero trust principles like multi-factor authentication, risk-based conditional access, and things like that, as well as the granularity of the permissions that can be applied in the application. Really work well with some of the other principles that we embrace in IT, such as principles of least privilege and minimum necessary standards. So it's something that we always look for, that role-based security, granular permissions, and of course, integration with Entra ID for identity provider.
Excellent. Thanks, Cher. Ben, how about you? How has the Power Platform made an impact on your operations?
It's made a pretty large impact on a lot of what we've done. We did notice just right off the bat, once we started migrating everything into the platform and using the data in the platform, because it was so easy to see all of the data and manage the data. We found errors we didn't even know existed. It was just having that kind of control over the information that we were putting in, being able to visualize everything, being able to drill down and get new information. I've had tons of requests for a small report. I need to know these specifics, and where it may have taken us a considerable amount of time previously, within minutes, we can find those data points and put them together into a report and send them off. So visibility has been just huge for us. And then just error correction, just going back over those records and seeing where the old solutions just weren't. We didn't have the same visibility, and for years maybe seeing those records untouched. So just big, a lot of work, but very beneficial to all of us.
Excellent. Thanks, Ben. Forrest, how about you? How has the Power Platform made an impact on your organization?
Well, the biggest impact, like is kind of being echoed throughout the meeting, is just time, right? It's not only the saving time on the development of it all, but even just our members, right? So we've been able to digitize a lot of things on our website. And even when they're visiting the office, we have check-in apps now on iPads that are powered by the Power Platform. And then on the website, we have general welfare, we have voucher claims, we have intakes for different things. And then even when it comes to our employees, there's one use case where we've got our child support now has a case management lightweight system that's been customized just for them, right? Where all that was paper, they were doing a lot of manual entry, and now they're able to enter it once and then carry that through their whole process, right? So it's just really the time that's been a big saver on what we've done with the Power Platform.
Excellent. Thank you. Wonderful questions. And I know you guys have great experience with this. And Forrest, I'm gonna start with you again on this one. What advice would you give other tribal organizations that might be hesitant to use a cloud-hosted solution like the Power Platform?
Yeah, I mean, I've really can answer this in a developer's perspective, right? Because I was the first one to really take it on within our organization. And the way that we did that is we started to play around with it, right? So if you've got an O365 license, you already have completely taken away that barrier to entry. So if you're an organization that's using O365, it's more than likely your developers already have a license, and it's very easy to get them a premium license if they want to start doing things with Dataverse rather than SharePoint. But you can even just start with SharePoint as a data source or an Excel spreadsheet. And it's just literally one paper process you transform into a power up, and then you'll just understand how much time saving that you get when you take on these solutions, and it's just going to snowball from there. So if you're hesitating at all, I would just focus on something very small, something that you can use as a showpiece for your management, for the rest of the organization, and you'll be adopting it in no time.
Excellent. Thanks, Forrest. How about you, JR? What advice would you give for someone that's maybe hesitant to move to the cloud and use something like the Power Platform?
So yeah, I have run into organizations that are hesitant on cloud before, and in the tribal space, I do hear about data sovereignty often, and concerns related to that. And at Sandwich, we are fully embraced in the cloud. And one ways you can kind of augment, the security concerns about data would be to look into customer managed keys, and it's available for the Power Platform, and you handle encryption yourself instead of Microsoft managing the encryption on that product. So if that is a concern, and I saw there was a question related to that, that might be something that you could explore. But for those that are ready, and it looked like, I think from that poll, 57% were already experimenting. One of the successes, or one of the techniques we've used to have success, is to start with a small project that may not be the most impactful, but does have some impact to the organization. And it's something you can get an easy win with. And that'll help buy-in from everyone that wants, a solution for themselves, and they'll build energy on the product. And that definitely makes it easier when you have buy-in from up above and down below with staff to be actually using it.
Excellent. Thanks, Chair. Ben, how about you? What advice would you give to somebody hesitant to use a cloud hosted solution like the Power Platform?
And kind of in line with where JR's at, definitely know what your security needs are, what your accessibility needs are. I know that that was one of the big concerns that we had moving into the cloud, and what we found was I feel more comfortable with the way that we're able to handle the security piece now, being able to the accounts being integrated with Entra, and being able to control who's accessing from where with what rights. I feel more comfortable in the cloud space, which is sounds a bit strange. But there are a lot of tools out there, like JR had mentioned, that you can utilize that will help you address some of those issues that a lot of people are concerned with. Also, just at least with the solution that we're using, again, just being able to see the change tracking, who is accessing at what times and what changes they're making, also enhances that security piece. So just knowing what your needs are, and there's definitely ways to address most of those issues fairly easily.
Excellent. Thank you. Gentlemen, this is amazing to hear your experience, and your advice is very true. Just start with something small, something simple that's going to have high impact for you. That's amazing. So I know we have a few questions in the panel here. Brian, did you want to take those on, or would you like me to start those off?
I certainly can, Sarah. Thank you. So
thanks, Brian.
maybe, I'll just open it up for any of the panelists to try and tackle a couple of the questions, and they're related, is around using AI capabilities. Have you started to look at AI capabilities and how you can apply that to any of the work that you're doing, or any of the business apps that you're, implementing for your organization? And if so, how are you tackling some of the data policies that go around that, and how are you managing the tribal data protection and security? So anybody want to jump in first and take that?
It looks like Forrest is willing to.
Yeah, so I mean, the way Oneida handled it was block it all. When it first came out, it is a concern for security, and I think those concerns are justified, because you never 100% know on how that data is going to be used for these AI models, and who is going to be able to access them with these exploits, right? So I do think that you need to step on the AI capabilities very softly and be aware of it. We have now just recently come around to opening up Copilot within our organization. Microsoft has really, I would say, done their due diligence when it comes to adding that extra layer of security within your tenant when it comes to Copilot. So the data that's stored and looked up within these Copilots within the tenant, they do have those cutoffs to that barrier there, and so we have been able to finally get access to Copilot for our developers, and it will be pushed out as our security teams understand them more to more and more individuals. And so we have just kind of scratched the surface of what's possible with Copilot. We've been using it for knowledge on Power Apps, on how to develop our Power Apps better. They answer a lot of questions that saves the time from searching on YouTube or Google. And then even like learning the new solutions. So like Power Pages, when we start working with you guys, that's going to be tremendous for us, Copilot. And Power BI, we're just now getting into Power BI. We've been a IBM company for decades. And so Cognos has been our BI tool of, pretty much our last 50 years or 40 years, whenever it started. And so now we're just starting to get into Power BI, and it's been really helpful for that, just utilizing its knowledge. And, it's not always right, but when you run into those roadblocks, then Google is a great backup for that, right? Or a YouTube video. There's a lot of creators out there that will close the gap on that. So I think for us right now, it's just for knowledge, but we are very interested in starting to create these Copilot agents that's now been released by Microsoft. We've been doing some RDP or the robotic processing, right? RPA, I think maybe it's called, for user testing when it comes to just going through tests on our forms or through the Power Apps. A lot of our developers have started to use that. So building agents that will kind of just figure out on how to do that without us having to actually go through and program like each of the steps within each of the fields is going to be crazy valuable. So I'm very excited for what Copilot is bringing to the table right now. And it is the only AI that we trust. So.
Any feedback, Ben or JR, of that model? Are you guys doing anything there? JR?
I use Copilot extensively. It's a fantastic tool, but you definitely do have to think of it as a tool. It's not an end-all solution, and sometimes it lies to you. But one of the great things about Copilot is it also provides all the sources and more information, so you can go and dig through and see where it made that mistake, where it connected the data incorrectly. I've had it write SQL queries for me that have jump-started my work, so I didn't have to start from scratch. And I've also had it write C# as well. It's a fantastic tool. The only word of caution I have would be in relation to shadow IT that I saw was on a slide earlier. There are a lot of different AIs out there, and they don't all have the same commercial data protection that Copilot does. So definitely want to make sure staff are aware of what is allowed in your organization. And Microsoft even has tools in Defender to identify when somebody's using some other AI. So other things to look into, but definitely want to heed that warning.
It's interesting you mentioned that, JR, because that was one of the things that I learned at TribalNet at one of the AI sessions that Microsoft sponsored, was that there's going to be new roles coming up that don't really exist today related to AI. And that's around data categorization, data tagging, how to flag which data that is available in your system. What are the security permissions around that? So that was another tidbit that I took away from some of the sessions at TribalNet, was there's new roles and new opportunities for developers and people that understand the data, and they're going to need to help your IT organizations manage that and protect the data. So it's something that's coming. We don't even know really what it is yet, but it's it's a trend that's absolutely going to be needed in the near term. So thank you guys for giving that answer. So maybe Ben, if you want to try and tackle one of the questions around extending the Power Platform, have you enabled any of your developers or your team to extend or customize some of the applications internally?
Yeah, so we're pretty small. I mean, we're a small group. We don't have a ton of resources to really devote to our development team or department or anything like that. But we have actually dug in and made quite a few changes. And that's typically how I sell it to other departments that we have as their interests come along and how they can fit into this solution with us. Is that typically if we implement it and they find a need, we found it very easy to go in and make those uh, smaller changes, adding a table, even making a small change to a view. It's extremely user friendly, and I came to Power Platforms with just without any direct knowledge of Power Platforms, and was able to find my way pretty quickly and put together some changes that helped move us along internally. And also to address another one of the questions up there, almost related to that, is the unexpected challenges that we may have come across. Again, uh, as we were developing, we had a previous integration with one of our accounting softwares, and in the past, it was a challenge every time something changed to get the previous developer to update to agree in that integration. And we built that out entirely ourselves, where previously we had to outsource, and that was all done using the tools in Power Platforms and our knowledge of the Microsoft suite. And then we've been able to adjust very quickly, almost no downtime now. Whenever there's an update change, we can immediately just jump in and adapt the solution, and we're back to operating. So
That's awesome.
yep.
That's awesome. Thank you. So JR, you had any thoughts on that?
On different challenges that we've
Well,
encountered.
the challenges, or how have your team, applied extensions, or what resources have you gone to learn about how to do, extensions or building these apps?
Yeah, I can talk about both those things. We also have a small team. I have one main developer and another that just started. But we've looked at the Microsoft Dataverse and how it can tie into things, and we've looked at also Azure Functions and Logic Apps and how we can leverage those to enhance or extend the product. And we have a big investment in Laserfish as well, and so we can't just dump all of the old stuff and move to the new. We've got to have some middleware in the meantime, and so leveraging the APIs of the platform and has been the main way that we've extended that integration to either pull data from or sync data to Dataverse. One thing that we're doing is we're syncing all of our vendors from our finance software, so that when we have distribution payments from Arctic IT, and we automate some TBRA payments for our housing clients, and we make sure that we have the same vendor name in both systems at all times, and so that's one way we've extended it. One surprise that was, or one problem that we ran into when working on deployment was our departments know their processes so well, they're not always best to communicate how it's done, because it's like muscle memory to them. So we get halfway through a project, or we're about to close out a contract, and like, oh, it doesn't do this. And we're like, oh, well, we didn't know you need to do that. So discovery of everything that's needed is definitely something to really focus on before you start a big project and a big process enhancement.
Yep, that's great. Thank you. So maybe Forrest, you could tackle maybe the last question. I know we've only got 1 minute left, but maybe answer the last one about, what has been your experience in having end users build their own solutions because I know you guys have probably been a pretty heavy adopter of the Power Platform, and have you looked at that Center of Excellence, the Microsoft Center of Excellence tool for any of your internal work?
Yeah, so we did implement the Center of Excellence when it first came out, but we didn't really utilize any of it. We've really just had our nose to the stone when it comes to our requests that have been coming in. So there hasn't been a lot of, I would say, prioritization on the Center of Excellence. So although we do have it in our tenant, we haven't put it into any of our standards for using it yet. So it's something that we definitely want to do, and we'll probably use you guys as guidance on really on how to leverage those tools. And then when it comes to I would call the power users, right, that are outside of the development team, we have had a handful that have started to adopt Power Apps and have started to build with Power Automate and Power Apps. And, that does raise a security concern within our organization. So we are going to be developing governance about it because, there's when an employee is building these things, they don't always necessarily think about data security and I would say just the risks that come when sharing those kind of solutions. So what we'd like to do is set up a separate environment for those individuals that want to start doing that outside of the development team. And then, so they would put in their request, they would do the development in there and what we're calling citizen developers environment. And then when they believe that their solution is ready to be shared either with their business unit or with the organization, that it would go through a vetting process from our development team. And then our development team would actually take that and publish that to our production environment. And then if they needed to run any updates, we would treat them just as any versioning that our developers would do, but they would have their own environment to do that in. That would be separate from our development environment.
That's great. Great. Thank you.
So it looks like we just have a couple more questions in that Q&A. I know we still have a few people on. If you guys want to quickly go through those last two, at least we can have it on video and share with anybody else who maybe had to jump. So if you have to go, totally understand, but wouldn't mind just getting through those last Qs if we could have another maybe 5 minutes.
I think there was one, I think we answered William's questions there. So the last one was from Elvina, how many operators can there be for each platform? I'm not quite clear on what the question is there. I'm assuming what you mean is by the number of users that can be using these applications. I think that's what it's referring to. So it really boils down to the number of users and the seats or the licensing that you make available. So it's a little bit of a complex question. You might see my answer that I provided to Kyle in the answered column around licensing. So there's a couple different models where, depending on if you're using the Office 365 licenses or the Power Platform seats that come with Office, that limits some of the capabilities of what you can access in terms of the data or workflows and that kind of thing. But if you need more complex scenarios like a full solution, replacing an Access database or something like that, then you will probably need either a Power Apps Premium or Power Apps per app seat. But once you have those seats for your users, there's really no limit to the number of users. As long as you have X number of hundreds or thousands of users, you can make sure that we can license them appropriately and get them access to the apps that they need to be able to do their work within their department or across the overall organization. So I appreciate the question, Elvina. So thank you for joining that. So sorry,
Brian, sorry, I just want to add one point to the governance and protection. Microsoft continues to invest in capabilities to help manage and govern your Power Platform development. For example, they've got data loss prevention policies. You can turn off connectors. I mentioned over 1,000 connectors, close to 1,400 of them. You probably don't want someone using Facebook or Twitter without your approval. So you can actually lock down and create policies for that. As Forrest mentioned, you can actually divert people to what we call a developer environment. So it's not taking capacity in your tenant if they want to create their own apps, and you can limit the sharing of that. So, well, I think that this is a really cool app that everybody in the company has. I can share it with them. I could limit that so IT is not wondering what's this app that just all of a sudden showed up that we had nothing to do with. So Microsoft has some really great capabilities to help you with that. And if you have more questions on that, we'll be able to assist you as well.
Mhm. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for sticking on the call. Thank you to our panel. It was really great. I love that we had you guys here to really share your experiences. I know everybody on the call, it means a lot to be able to see, you know, firsthand what is actually happening, how are you using it, and how it's working. So thank you everybody for the wonderful hour today. If you have questions, make sure you reach out. Again, everybody will receive an email with a copy of the recording tomorrow. Please feel free to share it with anybody on your team who couldn't make it. And with that, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you everyone for joining.
Bye, guys.
Thank you all.